for Mac.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are as excited to hear what I'm going to say as I am. So today I'm going to talk to you about your brand, how you can fast track your personal development and accelerate your success. However, before I do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of context about the brand side of things. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself as I go through 4 different points. And the first one of those points is about owning your setbacks. And for me, it'll be interesting if I get past that point, because that's quite a painful one for me to get past. And it will be the first time I share some of that information on a stage. So that's going to be a challenge for me in itself. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how personal development can literally save your life, and has, as far as I'm concerned, saved mine. The next thing I'm going to talk about is mental toughness versus mental sensitivity, and how mental sensitivity can actually be a superpower. The last thing is, who do you learn from? And now that I've got through all those 4 points, I can put my card down. In fear of not remembering something. But as so many of the speakers have mentioned today, that fear of getting up here on the stage and sharing your story, it's, as you probably hear from my voice, I have a little bit of an echo. It's not excitement, that's pure fear and nervousness. So as I stand here in front of you, owning your own brand, what is your own brand? So the question I have for you is, do you know what your brand is? My dad taught me one thing. He said to me in life, you only have one thing, and that is your name. And for years, it took me a lot to understand, what does that mean? And anybody who knows me, if you go on Facebook, you go on Google, you go on wherever, you'll find I have many names. And that's a long story in itself, but I'll tell that story one day. However, when we think about brand, when we think about, let me use a few examples. If you think you need to go to somebody about finance, can anybody over here, just immediately in the back of your mind, you think finance, you've already linked your mind to somebody that you think would be able to help you with finance? Yes? Fitness? Has anybody got something? Yeah? Health? Anybody got something? And what does that tell you? It tells you that those individuals have built up a brand in your mind that you associate them immediately with finance, with fitness, with health. And the question that I have for you is, what is your brand? What is it that when people mention that item, that thing, what is it that you are known about? What is it that you are known for? So my first point, owning your setbacks. I, like many others, and we all have a story. Would you all agree? We all have something painful that we've all been through. So I've had many setbacks in my life, and I want to share a few of them because tomorrow is the 16th of June. And 20 years ago tomorrow night, I survived an armed robbery, and it was a scary experience. It was not just by myself, but my whole team of staff were held up at gunpoint. And it was a scary experience. I had a gun to my head, I had a gun to my side, I had a gun to my back. And when you're looking somebody in the eye and you think, this is it. Life ends here. And ironically, I was in the hotel and catering industry at the time. And I said to myself, months before, that I know that this is a probability. It's going to happen because bank holidays, restaurants and hotels have a lot of cash, and it's probably going to happen to me because it's happened to a lot of people I know. So I'm going to get out before it happens. And guess what? I hadn't. And that could have been a defining moment in my life. I then decided to get out of the industry. I built my own business, and I did really well. But then I went through some changes again because there were some economic changes and various things happening in the world. And I decided to fly on over, come over to the UK, which was, for me, was an exciting opportunity. But at the same time, I then went through 5 redundancies in 5 years. And each one at the top of my game. And that's tough. And at that same time, I realized that you need to have more in life than just what you're doing, the job that you're doing, just turning up. And I remember going to my director, one of the companies that I was a head trainer for, and I was the guru that everybody went to. And I said, hey, you know what? We've got some amazing trainers in this business. And we all need to be able to, in order to be at the top of our game, we need to be around the right people. We need to be able to learn. We need to be able to go on some more training courses. And you know what his response to me was? That all of that is a load of hype. And this was in 2002. 2003, July 4th to the 7th. Does anybody know that date for any reason? No, blank looks. Great. Has anybody heard of Tony Robbins? 1, 2, a few of you. Excellent, great. Tony Robbins. So I decided the event that our big MD was not prepared to send us on, I was going to go and invest myself. And I was going to go along, and I was going to go and learn. And I had all these setbacks. I had lots of bad things in life that had happened to me. But I wasn't going to let those hold me back. And one of the things I learned from Tony when I went on that first event, and it took me years to understand what the message was. And he used this analogy of being in a car accident and what you're focused on if you're driving. And if you could imagine, you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you're in an accident and there's a clear space or there's another car that you can hit. And he talks about what do you focus on at that point in time? Focusing on that space where you want to end up or focused on the other vehicle. Because guess what? You're going to end up on what you focus on. And through all these wonderful setbacks that I've had over life, I've suffered with depression and stress and anxiety and post-traumatic disorder and all those wonderful things. However, the thing that I learned was that when you surround yourself with the right people, and this is where personal development for me came in as a massive lifesaver, you have an opportunity to lean on others. Because I always thought in business and in life, it's all about each man for himself. Has everybody ever kind of seen that set up? And in business it is. But what I found from some of the mentors and the people that I've learned from is that in order to be your own brand, you sometimes need to blow your own horn as such. You need to go out there and tell the world about what you can offer. And unfortunately, we don't always get the opportunity to come out and share our stories with people. And for me today, you'll see over there, my notes are still there. And I'm sitting there thinking, what happens if I don't give you the right message? Because for me, it was the most important thing today. It was just, if I can share with one person that you can go through hell, but as long as you surround yourself with the right environment, the right people that you can lean on and that are going to stretch you, that could save your life, literally. I remember coming to a YESx group event when actually I didn't really feel like it, to be fair. I just thought, it's raining. I had all the excuses. And has anybody ever had that? You've got an event, you've even paid for it, and you think, do I have to? Yeah? And I've had that. And I thought, I don't even know who the speakers are. Like, why am I even going? And I arrived, and I thought, and I went and sat at the front, because I thought I better make It looked like I'm interested. And I sat in the front. And that was probably the worst and the best thing that could have happened, because all of a sudden, I sat next to somebody who had never been to a YES Group event before, but they told me their story. And I came and I took so much away from what I learned from that one individual that it was more than what I got from the speakers potentially. So my message to you is, how many people are into personal development? How many people have a massive library of personal development books at home? How many of you have read all of them? All of them? One or two people. I find it a fascinating thing that I have a really cool library. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to read all of those, but there's masses of information in there. Now, 20 years ago, I had an experience where this friend of mine, he gave me a personal development book. And for me, it was a personal hit to my ego, like massively. Any guesses what the name of the book was? Ever heard of a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People? And for me, did I read that immediately? Did I jump up? Was I excited? Hell no, I was insulted. I was offended, actually. And I took the book and I threw it at the back. I was running a restaurant at the time, and I threw it in the cupboard, and that was it. And then one day, guess what? Where's the most perfect place to read a book? Anybody? You guys have done the same, so it's not just me. I don't feel so bad. I took this book out and I thought, I need something to read. And oh my God, did that change my life? Because all of a sudden, I thought, what's this guy talking about? If I apply that, does it really work? And I went out and I applied little things. And all of a sudden, within a few months, I was just hungry for information. And at the age of 19, all of a sudden, I became the youngest general manager for the largest Irish pub and restaurant group in South Africa. And I was like, how's this all happening? And you guess what? Guess why? Because none of the other 19-year-olds were spending any time reading. Because they thought, I've done school now, reading's done. And I had the same opinion originally. But then I found the personal development space is if you spend time around the right people. And who's gone to an event and really not wanted to be there? Anybody? Yeah? Or gone and listened to a speaker and thought, what's he actually getting on? Yeah? So the next 2 points, mentally tough versus mentally sensitive. When you're around personal development, there are opportunities to learn. There are people in this room that can teach you some amazing things. And once you cross that border of you don't know what you don't know, and all of a sudden you learn something and you have that enlightenment moment. Anybody had that? I've had a few. And that's where things make such a big difference, is you then have the opportunity to make a difference in life. And I went and I studied and I did so many different courses. And one thing that I do ask everybody is, a lot of the time, there's two things that it costs to learn. One is time, and the other one is going to be money. And don't be afraid to part with money or time for something that you really, really want. Because I promise you, it is going to make a big difference in your life. And I went and I studied about mental toughness and a mental sensitivity because I thought I wanted to make a difference to everybody else. But in reality, I wanted to find out whether I was mentally tough. And that scared me. And then I found out there was this thing called being mentally sensitive. Because mentally tough people run big companies, they're not scared of standing on people, and they can do all these weird and wonderful things. But mentally sensitive people, they connect the dots. They go out and they can interpret between the mentally tough and the rest of us so that we can actually create an amazing platform. And it was like an interpretation. So my next point and final point, which is, who do you learn from? I have found that being blessed with knowing people in the YES group and various other networks, that this is a fantastically safe environment to go and meet people, get advice. There are amazing trainers and people that can give you teachings that will take you to that next level. But the key thing is you need to understand and find out, what is your brand? What is your message? What are you trying to get across to the world? And over here, you'll find the support that can help you take that message to where it needs to be. I also found that we are blessed by other people. I was sitting over there in my seat earlier, and I was really nervous to come and stand up in front of, I guess, my peers and other people that I really look up to. But at the same time, I'm also really grateful and thankful that events like this have been put up and that we have the opportunity to come and learn from other people. I've already taken away from each one of you that have spoken today. And Klaus, you spoke about how personal development can make you sick. Guess what? At the age of 35, I had a heart attack. And the first thing I did after that was I went and searched on Google, our wonderful platform of knowledge, what is the average lifespan post a heart attack? Anybody know what it is? How many? 5 years. Holy cow. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I have survived past that. Yay. And guess what? For the first 3 years post-heart attack, guess what I was waiting for? I was waiting to die. Literally, I was sitting there thinking, well, it's done. The guy from Green Mile, he lived 5 years post his heart attack. This one he did, this one he did. So I was sitting there waiting. Who has ever heard the statements of, I didn't know, it was, nobody told me, or I was waiting for somebody to give me the opportunity? The opportunity is there if you are willing to take it. You've got to step outside your comfort zone, and you've got to be prepared to share your story. Because even if it only connects with one person out there, it's an opportunity to potentially save a life. So for me, all I want to do is say thank you to all those people that have given us the opportunity to be on the stage today. Thank you very much.